Catherine, doctors told Tashmika Ward if she had any more kids, she could die. So she was looking for a permanent form of birth control. Doctors said Assure was less invasive than getting her tubes tied, and she went for it.
The doctors did tell me that if they had done a regular tubal, it would have been a 2-week stay in the hospital.
So instead of having tubal ligation surgery, Tashmika Ward followed her doctor's recommendation and went with Assure. According to the company's website, it's an in-office procedure where coils made with polyester fiber, nickel titanium, and stainless steel alloy are inserted into a woman's fallopian tubes. The scar tissue that forms is supposed to prevent pregnancy.
I think the procedure took an hour in the office, and then I went home.
That was 4 years ago. Ward says 6 months after having the procedure, she began having a variety of health issues.
I have severe dizzy spells, nausea, vomiting. I have pain in my abdomen, my lower abdomen, migraine headaches, excessive sweating, insomnia.
The list goes on, and Ward is not alone. According to the FDA, which approved Assure in 2002, they've received more than 700 complaints. However, a 2007 follow-up study found although there is evidence of complications, this study did not demonstrate any new safety problems or an increased incidence of problems already known. The FDA says most of the reported side effects include abdominal pelvic pain, hemorrhage, perforation, and tissue damage. The most reported device problems include migration of the coils and patient-device incompatibility. In other words, patients might be allergic to the nickel in the coils.
I really think the FDA needs to do something. They need to step in and help us all, because it's only going to get worse as more women get implanted.
Indeed, there is a growing community of women who say their health has gone downhill. A Facebook group called Assure Problems has more than 1,700 members, and consumer advocate Erin Brockovich has a website that is posting women's horror stories, a link to file a complaint with the FDA, and a petition to enable a class action lawsuit. So far, nearly 2,700 people have signed it.
Usually I'm in bed, close to tears. Sometimes I'm in tears. Pain pills don't work.
Ward says she has seen more than 10 doctors in the last 4 years and has yet to find one willing to perform the surgery required to remove the coils from her fallopian tubes.
Right at this moment, I'm willing to take the invasive surgery if it'll make me feel better.
Bayer, which manufactures Assure, maintains its product is safe and that more than 600,000 women have had the procedure. But if you've had problems with Assure, the FDA urges you to file a complaint with them. And we have put that link on our website, cbs5az.com. Back to you. And as you can imagine, he is very worried about his girlfriend. The last he heard from her was about a half an hour before her cell phone went dead 3 weeks ago. That text message read, "I'm coming over," but she never did.
It's the hardest thing ever. It's impossible not to think about her. It's impossible. Like I said, there's never been a week where I haven't seen her. It's been 3 weeks now. It's scary.
Francisco Ortega grew up with Adrienne Salinas, and the two have dated on and off for years. He describes the missing 19-year-old as his best friend.
We have so many childhood memories, so many memories. And that's what's keeping me strong.
Since Salinas disappeared from her Tempe neighborhood near Hardy and 5th Street on June 15th, Ortega, along with Salinas' family and many friends, have plastered the city with posters of the young woman. They've even started a Facebook page to spread the word.
It's impossible for her to have just vanished into thin air. Somebody knows something, and we're just pleading with that person, that someone to just come forward and give us information so that we can get her back.
Rick Salinas describes the past few weeks without his daughter as living a nightmare. He's heartbroken, yet trying to remain strong. He says those who love his daughter have no choice but to hold on to hope.
We can't waste any energy or thought on the worst case scenario. I mean, there's no reason for that.
Ortega has that same determination. The focus, finding Salinas, no exception.
We're not going to give up. We're not going to give up till we find out what happened. It's important that we keep the word out there. We have to. As I'm saying, we're her voice.
If you have any information that might help Tempe police in their search for Adrienne Salinas, please give them a call. There is a $10,000 reward being offered for her safe return. In Tempe, Rebecca Thomas, CBS 5 News. Well, the wind is a real concern right now. Wind speeds in this area are about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Yesterday, the weather pretty much cooperated with firefighters. For the most part, we had low humidity and lighter winds for most of the day. That allowed the fire to lie down and smolder, which is why you're not really seeing any smoke behind me. But right now, I am looking north and watching a thunderstorm roll in, and gusts associated with that could pose a real threat to firefighting efforts.
Although 80 miles an hour is unlikely, the potential is there for stronger winds than what we saw on Sunday afternoon.
Sunday being the day 19 firefighters were killed as they battled the Yarnell Hill fire during severe thunderstorm conditions.
Not seeing a whole lot of change really into the weekend. We're going to have thunderstorm potential each day.
If we don't have the winds, things just kind of lay down. It makes it very easy to go after and pick up. Once the winds kick up, it really starts to become a problem. It makes it very difficult to control the fire.
Today, helicopters continue to douse the burn area with water. And of course, there are the men and women on the ground, about 500 firefighters working to protect homes in Yarnell and Peoples Valley. A fire retardant dropping DC-10 and fixed-wing planes are on standby. The fire, which has already charred about 8,400 acres and destroyed an undetermined number of structures in Yarnell, is burning through dense, low-lying shrubs and gullies and not kicking up much smoke, but that can quickly change.
Could, with the 80-mile-an-hour winds, expect to see extreme fire behavior, rapid rates of spread, long flame lengths.
Right now, you are looking north toward Prescott and Flagstaff, which is where this. I want to show you this jacaranda tree. Those winds were strong enough to rip it out of the ground, and this is something you're seeing all across town.
It's kind of like making up for all the rain that we haven't had.
As Scott Spalding enjoyed standing in the pouring rain near Chandler and 48th Street, the storm was causing big problems in southwest Ahwatukee Monday evening. From south of Ray Road to west of 32nd Street, hundreds of downed trees blocked roads that quickly became flooded with water as well.
It's been a macro burst on a microburst.
As firefighters worked to remove uprooted trees near Chandler and 32nd Street, a group of teenagers did the same.
It's just a blessing to just come out as one and just help everybody as a community.
Ahwatukee is a community dealing with widespread damage, mostly downed trees and broken roof tiles.
This is the worst I've ever seen in over 20 years.
Christopher Haddon was driving down Pecos Road when the whipping rain became almost blinding near 32nd Street.
I thought it was in the middle of a tornado. The rain got so heavy, the traffic light that was just right in front of me, I was at the stop line, couldn't see anything.
For as much destruction as this storm caused, many people were spared significant damage to their homes and property. This tree barely missed John Dowd's home, which he just sold.
I'm just glad it doesn't seem like anybody was hurt, which is kind of amazing.
Yanira and her husband want all of you to see for yourselves. Neither of them boarded the bus with drugs.
It's very important because it's some people that believe that I was guilty of that, and I'm not. And it's for me, for my children, for my family.
It's been about 5 weeks since a judge freed Amira Maldonado from a Mexican jail.
I'm very grateful that I'm free, that for my family.
The Goodyear woman spent 9 days behind bars, accused of smuggling 12 pounds of marijuana onto a passenger bus and attaching it under her seat. The key to her release was this surveillance video showing Yanira and her husband Gary boarding the Tufeza bus on their way back to Arizona after attending her aunt's funeral.
It proves what I always said, that I wasn't guilty of that, and it proves that I just went in with 2 bottles of water.
The video shows Yanira wearing a white top with a small purse on her shoulder. Gary is wearing a blue shirt, holding a folded blanket. They were the last passengers to board the bus.
Yes, it's one of the key things that we have, one of the only things we have to prove her innocence, and the 2 witnesses. And the way to prove those witnesses were on the bus is through the video as well, because they didn't have a log.
The video will be vital again because Yanira's ordeal isn't over. The Mexican government is appealing the judge's ruling. Her attorney in Mexico is working the case, which could take another 2 months. But Yanira says she must fight to clear her name so she can visit her large family again south of the border.
I want to go back to Mexico. I have family. My grandma, she raised me. My mom is still there.
What we have is rain from this past weekend coupled with today's downpour, and that has resulted in several flooded roads.
Coming down Shed Road, it was just like a river. We always call it Shed River when it rains.
Mina Sanchez was driving home to Eloy after running errands as the storm hit around noon Monday.
It was just, there was no visibility.
An estimated inch to an inch and a half of rain fell within about an hour, flooding most of Shed Road and several other streets in the Toltec community of Eloy. Several stuck cars even had to be pulled from the muddy water.
I'm just really happy that before I got here, my family from Casa Grande, Eloy, came and helped me out and just kind of take care of my home.
Armando Diaz came home from a camping trip to a flooded yard. Water and mud made it into his garage, but for the most part, his house is not damaged. This time, Diaz urges the city to do something to prevent future flooding in this high-risk area.
I've been telling them this from 4 years ago, that they need to keep those areas clean, the culverts clean, and have better flood control.
Despite the flooding fiasco drivers and homeowners faced, children in Eloy seem to have found a silver lining.
We don't mind at all. It's fun. We were swimming in the streets because it was all flooded.
Now, there have been no reports of flood damage to homes, and Chris Dunn tells me heavy rain is not in the forecast for Eloy, so hopefully this area will have time to dry out before the next storm. In Eloy, Rebecca Thomas, CBS 5 News. On Saturday, the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office told residents of the Williamson Valley corridor they could go home. On Sunday, the remaining residential evacuation orders were lifted as well.
Great.
Relief.
Great.
Yeah, relief. Just a sigh of relief.
John and Angie Mazzella returned to their home in the Mint Creek Ranch subdivision Saturday night. They'd packed up and left Tuesday before the Dosey fire forced evacuations.
It came over the mountain so fast, and the wind was blowing in our direction, and we decided we were going to get out.
Like many evacuees, the Mazzellas stayed with friends who graciously opened up their homes.
We had so many things to move, and there was still a little bit of smoke in the house.
Bill Anton and his family waited until Sunday to return to their Sundown Acres home, but he says he won't bring back his packed up belongings or his livestock until the fire is out.
One thing you don't want is to be evacuated twice.
Sunday night, the sheriff's office told residents of the Granite Basin, Alto Recreation Area, Blackjack, and Anytown Camp subdivisions they were free to go home. But there's an exception. Residents like Audrey Nissen, whose permitted cabins are on Prescott National Forest land, will have to wait longer.
The main thing is, as long as everything's safe, and hopefully the flooding, when the monsoons come, won't affect us. I'm okay with that at this point.
Speaking of the monsoon, residents who live in areas that were evacuated close to charred land are encouraged to buy flood insurance. You have 30 days from when the fire started to do that. In Prescott, Rebecca Thomas, CBS 5 News.